In today's video, we'll explore 20 ways overdevelopment is affecting Canada's coastal areas. As urban expansions and industrial activities continue to invade our coastlines, the repercussions on the environment and local communities are becoming increasingly evident. From habitat loss and decreased biodiversity to the strain on indigenous communities and increased pollution, these challenges are not just numbers, they represent real consequences for ecosystems and human livelihoods. Join us as we highlight the critical impacts of overdevelopment and discuss what can be done to protect Canada's precious coastal regions. 1. Loss of natural habitat. Canada's coastal areas are witnessing an alarming transformation, as once vibrant ecosystems like wetlands, marshes, and estuaries are being replaced by sprawling residential and commercial developments. This shift spells disaster for the wildlife that relies on these habitats for survival. For instance, birds that once nested in marshes find themselves homeless, while fish lose critical breeding grounds. The loss of these natural habitats signifies not just a loss of biodiversity but also a disruption in the delicate balance of nature. Imagine a library where every book is a species. Overdevelopment is akin to burning the library down. The repercussions are far-reaching, affecting everything from the smallest insect to the largest mammal. 2. Erosion of shoreline. The construction of buildings, roads, and piers along Canada's coastlines has significantly disrupted natural erosion processes. The coastal areas, once fortified by natural barriers, now face accelerated erosion, making them more vulnerable to storms and rising sea levels. When a beach is eroded, it's not just the sand that's lost but also the protection it provides to inland areas. Imagine if the walls of your house were slowly crumbling away. This is what happens to coastal areas without natural defenses. The effects are visible and tangible, with communities facing increased risks of flooding and property damage. 3. Decreased biodiversity. With habitats being destroyed and pollution levels rising, the biodiversity in Canada's coastal regions is on a sharp decline. The intricate web of life that includes fish, birds, and marine mammals is under threat. Think of biodiversity as a symphony. When some instruments are removed, the harmony is lost. Each species plays a role in maintaining ecological balance, and the loss of even a single species can have cascading effects. The decrease in biodiversity compromises the resilience of ecosystems, making them less capable of withstanding environmental changes and human impacts. 4. Increased pollution. Overdevelopment brings with it a surge in pollution, as runoff containing chemicals, sewage, and waste products flows into the ocean. This results in water contamination and the creation of dead zones, areas where life struggles to exist. Picture a glass of water slowly turning murky with dirt. This is what happens to our oceans. The pollution not only affects marine life but also poses risks to human health and livelihoods. The pristine waters that once attracted tourists and supported fishing communities are now at risk of becoming toxic wastelands. 5. Overfishing. Coastal areas are under pressure from overfishing, exacerbated by population growth and increased demand for seafood. This overexploitation of marine resources leads to a reduction in fish stocks, threatening biodiversity and weakening marine food chains. Imagine a buffet where the food is continuously taken without replenishment. Eventually, there's nothing left to eat. Overfishing disrupts the balance of marine ecosystems, affecting not only fish populations but also the predators that rely on them. The long-term impact is a diminished ability for these ecosystems to recover and sustain life. 6. Loss of wetlands. Wetlands, which are vital for water filtration, flood control, and providing habitat for wildlife, are being drained or filled in for development projects. The loss of these wetlands means losing their natural benefits, which are crucial for both human and environmental health. It's like removing the kidneys from a body. Without them, the system can't function properly. Wetlands act as sponges, absorbing excess water and pollutants, and their destruction leaves coastal areas more susceptible to flooding and pollution. 7. Damage to coral reefs. Overdevelopment near the coast has led to increased sedimentation, pollution, and boat traffic, all of which are detrimental to coral reef ecosystems. These reefs, often referred to as the rainforests of the sea, are rich in biodiversity and play a critical role in marine life. Picture a vibrant painting slowly fading as dust accumulates on its surface. This is the impact of sedimentation on coral reefs. The damage to these reefs not only affects marine species but also the communities that rely on them for food, tourism, and cultural practices. 8. Impacts on indigenous communities. Indigenous communities, who have long relied on coastal areas for fishing, hunting, and cultural practices, are facing significant challenges due to overdevelopment. Their traditional ways of life are being disrupted, and in some cases, they are being displaced from their ancestral lands. It's akin to tearing pages out of a history book. The stories and practices that define a culture are lost. The impact on indigenous communities is profound, affecting their social, economic, and cultural well-being. The loss of access to traditional resources and lands threatens their ability to sustain their way of life. 9. Coastal flooding. Rising sea levels, driven by climate change and intensified by coastal development, increase the risk of flooding. This threat looms over both natural habitats and human infrastructure. Imagine building a sandcastle at the beach, only to watch it wash away with the tide. This is the reality for many coastal areas. The increased frequency and severity of flooding pose significant risks to communities, ecosystems, and economies. The challenge lies in finding ways to adapt and protect these vulnerable areas from the inevitable impacts of climate change. 10. Decreased tourism. As overdevelopment leads to environmental degradation, the natural beauty of Canada's coastal areas is at risk. This decline in environmental quality can have a direct impact on tourism industries that rely on clean beaches and healthy ecosystems. Picture a once breathtaking landscape now marred by pollution and concrete. It's no longer a destination for relaxation and enjoyment. The loss of tourism not only affects local economies but also diminishes the opportunity for people to connect with nature and appreciate its beauty. 11. Increased traffic and congestion. Development in coastal areas often leads to higher levels of traffic and congestion, putting a strain on public transportation systems. This can degrade the quality of life for both residents and visitors. Imagine trying to navigate a crowded, noisy street. The stress and frustration are palpable. The increased traffic not only affects daily commutes but also contributes to pollution and noise levels, further impacting the environment and community well-being. 12. Introduction of invasive species. Development often involves the transportation of non-native species, either accidentally or intentionally, which can outcompete native species and disrupt local ecosystems. It's like introducing a new player to a game who doesn't follow the rules. The balance is thrown off. Invasive species can cause significant harm to biodiversity, agriculture, and the economy. The challenge lies in preventing their introduction and mitigating their impact on native ecosystems. 13. Noise pollution. Increased human activity, including construction, shipping, and recreational boating, introduces noise pollution that can harm marine life. Many marine species rely on sound for navigation and communication, and excessive noise can disrupt these vital processes. Picture trying to have a conversation in a noisy room. The stress and confusion are similar for marine life. Noise pollution not only affects individual species but can also have broader ecological consequences, disrupting entire communities of marine organisms. 14. Destruction of natural buffers. Coastal forests, dunes, and other natural buffers are often removed during development, reducing the land's ability to protect against storms, erosion, and rising sea levels. It's like removing the armor from a knight. Without protection, vulnerability increases. The destruction of these natural buffers makes coastal areas more susceptible to environmental threats, compromising their resilience and ability to recover from disturbances. 15. Strain on freshwater resources. Coastal developments often rely on freshwater sources that may be limited or contaminated, affecting both local ecosystems and human populations. Imagine a well that's slowly running dry. The consequences are dire for those who depend on it. The strain on freshwater resources can lead to conflicts over water use and access, impacting communities and ecosystems alike. Sustainable management of these resources is crucial to ensure their availability for future generations. 16. Loss of fisheries. The destruction of habitat and changes to water quality due to overdevelopment make it harder for fish and other marine organisms to thrive. This results in a reduction in the productivity of local fisheries, which are vital for food security and economic livelihoods. It's like depleting the soil of nutrients. Eventually, the crops can't grow. The loss of fisheries has far-reaching consequences, affecting not only those who rely on them for income but also the broader food systems and economies. 17. Coastal infrastructure damage. Overdeveloped coastal areas are more vulnerable to storms, high waves, and other environmental pressures. This puts costly infrastructure at risk and can lead to expensive rebuilding efforts. Imagine a house built on a shaky foundation. It's only a matter of time before it collapses. The damage to infrastructure not only incurs financial costs but also poses safety risks to communities. Effective planning and construction are essential to withstand environmental challenges. 18. Decline in air quality. Coastal development often leads to air pollution from transportation and industrial activities. This can have health impacts on local populations and affect the overall quality of the environment. Picture a clear sky slowly turning gray with smog. The air we breathe is compromised. The decline in air quality affects not only human health but also ecosystems, as pollutants can settle into soil and water, causing further harm. 19. Social inequality. Overdevelopment can lead to gentrification, pushing lower-income residents out of coastal areas and creating inequality and social tensions. It's akin to widening the gap between the haves and have-nots. The disparities become more pronounced. The social inequality resulting from overdevelopment affects community cohesion and can lead to conflicts over land use and access to resources. Addressing these issues requires thoughtful planning and inclusive policies that consider the needs of all community members. 20. Climate change vulnerability. Coastal areas that are overdeveloped are more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, including sea level rise, extreme weather events, and shifts in temperature. These areas find it harder to adapt to future changes, much like a ship without a rudder in a storm. The increased vulnerability poses significant challenges for communities and ecosystems, requiring coordinated efforts to mitigate risks and enhance resilience.